The idea that only bad news is worth hearing isn't good news for the world's second largest continent. There are generations of Africans, young and old, who feel little pride in identifying with their motherland. Could good news about Africa be an important key in releasing Africans from the kind of mental slavery that has them looking west for all models of success? Join us as we discuss why positive news could be particularly good.
We have to look at how the media in these countries in Southern Europe or in Spain, how do they acquire their news? Somehow the people in a country like Spain are seeing a country, Uganda, through the lens of one journalist who happens to be maybe from another foreign country. So the realities are still yet to be. I think we are far away from that proper, portrayal of the complex story of different African countries. And it has to start with knowing that different African countries, the 54 countries in Africa, are different. They are unique and they might have similarities, but they are really different. And when you approach your story like that, then you shed off all the stereotypes that you have about Africa being one place and having all these characteristics. We have journalists on the ground in our countries who know the context really well. So it's not just somebody coming from somewhere and dropping in a country and covering a story, but making sure that you have the right contacts, you have the journalists on the ground informing you. So that's the only way you're going to capture the complex story. Prejudices and stereotypes exist, but it's our responsibility as people in the information business and the news to actually overcome these prejudices and be able to tell a better story. So I think it's very important to work with civil society, have a contact list, like I said, of journalists, civil society members. When there's a story, can you ask them, when you write a story, when you have an angle, can you actually test it out and say, what would you think of this? Of course, that's a dialogue. You have to have a dialogue. You can't cover a place, you can't talk about a place without its people taking part. You can do a lot better when you know the context through the people who live this life every day. And the life is not bad. It's not always bad. People have fun, people have different, like I say, the story is complex. The story is as complex as any other story in Spain or in any other part of the world. It's not special. So always remind yourself that it's not special. It's like any other country, it's like any other family. So be able to tell their positive story and the negative story, but remember that it's a story as a whole.
That there are two things we need to connect. How the media covers Africa in the West and the consequences of that by displaying despair, helplessness and hopelessness. The media is telling the truth about Africa and nothing but the truth. However, the media is not telling us the whole truth, because despair, civil war, hunger and famine, although they are part and parcel of our African reality, they are not the only reality. And secondly, they are the smallest reality. Africa has 53 nations. We have civil wars only in 6 countries, which means that the media are covering only 6 countries. Africa has immense opportunities that never navigate through the web of despair and helplessness that the Western media largely presents to its audience. But the effect of that presentation is it appeals to sympathy, it appeals to pity, it appeals to something called charity. And as a consequence, the Western view of Africa's economic dilemma is framed wrongly. The wrong framing is a product of thinking that Africa is a place of despair, because you are treating the symptoms, not the causes of Africa's fundamental problems.